This is Rob Z Inspire Saga. Alright, let's dive deep today. I'm about to tell you about something that should have shaken the boxing world to its core. But, of course, it didn't. Why? Because they covered it up. They swept it under the rug like it never even happened. But I'm here to talk about it, because Lamont Roach Jr. deserves to be heard. Now, we gotta talk about that fight, Roach vs. Gervonta Tank Davis. Y'all remember it, right? The one where Roach should have been crowned the winner, but somehow, someway, they allowed Tank to skate by. The fight changed the whole dynamic, but I'm not sure how many people realized just how significant it was. This was bigger than a regular fight, it was a statement. But the people who control boxing don't want to let that statement get out there. Let me break it down for you, so pay attention. The fight that changed everything. When you saw Tank Davis in the ring with Lamont Roach, you knew something was different. You could feel it in the air. Roach was doing something Tank wasn't used to. He was putting the pressure on, staying composed, and mixing it up in ways that Tank hadn't seen before. From the jump, Tank looked uncomfortable, like he couldn't get into his rhythm. Roach was breaking him down. And it wasn't just about punches to the face. See, the body shots were where the real damage was happening. Roach wasn't just tagging Tank with hooks to the head. He was working on his body, taking those deep, breath-stealing punches that leave you questioning your stamina. And Tank couldn't handle it. He was hurting in ways that weren't visible at first glance, but you could see it in his movements, the way he tried to distance himself. But Tank, being the fighter he is, wasn't going down that easy. Still, Roach kept up the pressure. Now, this is where it gets crazy. Tank takes a knee. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Instead of continuing to fight, Tank Davis decided to take a knee, which is something we don't see too often in boxing, especially from someone who's supposed to be on the top of his game. And the reason? Get this, he said his hair gel got in his eye. Hair gel? Are you kidding me? You're telling me that this professional fighter, on the biggest stage of his life, takes a knee because some hair product got in his eye? Nah, that doesn't make sense. You're telling me that something as simple as a little gel in your eye is what causes you to stop fighting? But here's the truth. It wasn't the gel. Tank was getting worked by Lamont Roach. Roach was doing damage to his body, to his stamina, and to his pride. Tank didn't want to admit it, so he came up with an excuse. Instead of just saying, "I was getting beat," he went with the hair and the eye nonsense. But even with that, Tank couldn't escape the fact that Roach was winning that fight, at least in the eyes of those who actually know boxing. And here's the part they don't want you to know, Tank didn't win that fight. No way. The judges? They knew better, but they had their orders. They knew Tank couldn't lose this one, not with all the money riding on him. But let's rewind for a second. This is where it all connects to the bigger picture. If you look at Tank's career, you'll start to see a pattern. Tank has been in a few close fights, and it's not the first time he's barely made it out of the ring without a loss. The pattern that's hard to ignore. Tank's fought some tough competition. But if you look closely at his record, you'll notice a lot of close calls, fights that should have been much more challenging for him than they appeared. And I'm not just talking about the Roach fight. Take a look at the fight with Isaac Cruz, for example. Tank barely won that one. It went 12 rounds, and there were plenty of times when Cruz had him on the ropes. Some people even scored that fight for Cruz, and I won't lie to you, I thought Tank might have lost that one too. But guess what? In boxing, when you've got the machine behind you, it doesn't matter how close those rounds are. They're gonna find a way for you to win. they'll call those close rounds for Tank, and before you know it, it's another decision in his favor. Then look at the Leo Santa Cruz fight. Tank knocked him out cold, sure, but it wasn't exactly a flawless performance. Santa Cruz put up a strong fight early on, and Tank was getting hit with shots. The knockout? It was huge. But it doesn't erase the fact that Tank had some rough moments before he landed that punch. People forget about that, because all they remember is the highlight reel. And don't even get me started on the Floyd Mayweather comparisons. Tank Davis is often touted as the next big thing, a fighter who can dominate for years to come. And a lot of that hype comes from the fact that Floyd Mayweather took him under his wing. Now, Mayweather? He's a legend in the game. But let's be honest here, Mayweather had his own special treatment. His fights were often too close for comfort. And he was able to get away with a lot because of his status and influence in the boxing world. Tank? He's got the same kind of setup. They've got his back every step of the way. And while he's undoubtedly talented, he's also protected. That's why you see him barely scraping by in some of these fights. They give him enough space to look good, but when things start to get out of hand, the powers that be make sure he stays on top. So, what happens next for Lamont Roach? Now, let's talk about the future. Because after the whole fiasco with the Roach fight, everyone knows Tank is gonna come out swinging harder the next time. But Roach has something to prove now. This fight exposed a lot of weaknesses in Tank's game, and Roach is going to capitalize on that. But what if they stack the deck even more in Tank's favor? What if they pull some strings and set the rematch up in a way that makes it impossible for Roach to win? That's what we're looking at now. Roach doesn't have the same protection. He's not going to get the same break that Tank gets. If Tank gets his way, he's going to come out with a new strategy, and that strategy is going to make sure he doesn't lose again. But here's the thing, Roach knows what's coming. He's been in the ring with Tank. He's seen what happens when the spotlight is on Tank, and he's going to be ready for whatever comes next. The question is, will the powers that be let him have a fair shot? It's bigger than Roach. But you know what? This isn't just about Lamont Roach. This is about the whole system. The way boxing works. It's about how the rich and powerful are the ones calling the shots. This isn't just about one fighter getting screwed, it's about a whole system that keeps the same stars on top, no matter what. It's about how the underdogs have to work 10 times harder, just to get one shot. It's about how when a fighter like Roach steps up, he has to take on not just his opponent, but the whole damn system stacked against him. That's the real story. That's what people don't see when they watch these fights on TV. They don't see the politics behind the scenes. The control. The manipulation. The way they keep the stars shining and the others in the shadows. But Lamont Roach isn't going away. He might not have won that fight, but trust me, he's not going to stop fighting. He's coming back stronger. And we should be rooting for him. Because this fight, this whole situation, it's bigger than boxing. It's about showing the world what's really going on. And when people like Roach keep pushing, when they keep fighting, they make it just a little harder for the system to keep controlling everything. So, when you tune in next time, whether it's for Tank, Roach, or anyone else, remember this, there's always more to the story. And sometimes, the fight isn't just about who's in the ring. It's about who's pulling the strings behind the scenes. And if we all keep watching closely enough, one day we'll see the whole picture. And that, my friends, will be the moment things change for good. Thank you. I love you.